Hello my loves, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk to you all about what is Montessori. If you're new around here, my name is Heather and I'm a mum to two little boys, Harlow who is 3 and Atlas who is 1. And you may have heard me throwing around the term Montessori, maybe you've seen it online, Montessori toys, playrooms. What does Montessori actually mean? So first of all, it is not new. Montessori has been around for over 100 years and it's still very much alive in lots of schools today, in home education, and it's also been embraced as a parenting philosophy as well. So it first began as a revolutionary shift towards child-led education. Back in the late 1800s, there was a woman named Maria Montessori and she was the first woman in Italy to become a doctor. She worked with children with extra educational needs and she spent a lot of time using her knowledge from her medical training to closely observe them and to learn what best engaged them and what helped them learn most effectively. From this, she created her own educational methods and materials that she refined and tweaked and tested out to create the Montessori method of education. And she then put these children forward through into the state exams, and they actually did better than the other children in mainstream schools. So of course she caught people's attention and people wanted to know what it was she was doing. In 1907, she then opened her first children's house, or Casa di Bambini, where she worked to prove her methods basically in the slums of Rome. Her learnings and her findings just took off and it spread all around the world. She trained more teachers and guides, opened more schools, and there's now over 20,000 Montessori schools worldwide. So I'm going to share with you a few of the things you would see in a Montessori environment, whether that would be a school or a home education setting or just using Montessori in your parenting approaches at home. These are some of the things you will see. At the heart of it is mutual respect for children, and this is something that was quite a new concept back then, but now is becoming more and more understood, that children are people that deserve our respect, and it really is at the heart of what Montessori is. Mutual respect may look like the way we speak and interact with the children, just overall in a kind and respectful manner. You know how we would speak to other adults, that's how the children are spoken to. And I think this can get confused for kind of passive parenting, where the child just runs free and you just let them do whatever they want. There's still boundaries in place, and that's actually a really important part of Montessori. But we can just still do it in a kind and respectful manner and hold those boundaries in a loving way. So this is known and referred to as positive parenting or positive discipline. Another area of respect we may show them is respect for their play. So if they're in deep flow and concentration with engaging with an activity, instead of rushing over and interrupting them, if we were working on something, we were sending an email and someone kept trying to interrupt us, it's just rude. So we hold the same respect for children when they're playing because that is their work. We also show respect for their natural timeline of development and their unique ways of learning, and we allow that space for their natural desire to learn. This brings me on to the next part of what Montessori is, which is that it's a lot more child-led than a traditional setting. Maria Montessori believed that education began at birth, and those first few years of development were so important. Through her observations, she actually discovered what we call the 4 planes of development, and that's where they naturally go through these periods of sensitivity for different things. And it's incredible that her observations, her findings all the way back then are now still being proven with all the brain science and all the technology we have today is proving her theories. I just think she was an incredible woman to be able to make these connections through her observations of different children. And because, they all develop at different times, so much of that was letting them choose their own way and lead their own path and show us how it is they need to learn. Our goal isn't just to fill them up with facts, it's to cultivate their natural desire to learn, because all children have it. So in a school, the top-down learning approach of a teacher at the front of the classroom telling the children everything they need to know, or in the home this may look like a parent calling all the shots and making all the decisions. Montessori is different in the way that it's a relationship between the adult, the child and the environment, and we all work together. There is always that interaction, and we are there to guide and support the child in their natural process of learning. In a Montessori setting, you'll notice that there's a lot of time held for these discoveries that the child is interested in. This moves me on to another really important part of Montessori, which is the prepared environment. And a lot of thought and consideration is taken into the child's needs through observations and figuring out what it is they need. We can adapt the environment to best support that. And each activity is carefully selected. Maria Montessori discovered that there was a lot less frustration in children when things were down at their level. They had child-sized furniture and tools available for them. Montessori materials are really hands-on to promote greater learning and engagement through their play. It focuses very much on active learning rather than passive entertainment. And this helps to build creativity in children and their focus and their concentration as well. If you've looked at Montessori materials online or you're familiar with the Montessori toys, then you will notice that they are all really beautiful, really high quality, usually natural materials as well. And they usually help to build a specific skill. So it may be language, music, arts. It usually focuses on developing one of those skills. One of my favourite parts about a Montessori setting is that there's a lot less clutter. It's a lot calmer, and there's a place for everything and everything's in its place, and this really appeals to the child's natural sense of order. You will notice that things are often displayed in baskets or trays, laid out beautifully on low shelving where it's easy open access for the child to be able to gain access to. This creates a really calm and orderly environment, which is amazing for the child's well-being, and it just makes it feel a lot more peaceful. Another really important part of Montessori is the independence and responsibility that is given to children. A really famous saying is "help me to help myself." And this is supported by the environment. So how it looks, there's low down hooks, mirrors, things are all really low and easily accessible to set them up for success when they're caring for themselves. A lot of care and time is took to teach them how to care for themselves. And this really supports their self-confidence and their self-esteem. When a child's been working at something really hard, maybe their coat zip, and they do it, the look on their face and the excitement, they're so proud of themselves from that feeling of accomplishment is really nurtured in Montessori. They just love it, don't they? Children love being able to do things for themselves. Especially toddlers. If you have a toddler, you will know that they go through this phase of wanting to do everything by themselves. They can do it, and that's really supported in Montessori through the environment and through the adult as well. In the home as well, children can be included in daily life activities. In Montessori, we call this practical life. Things like the washing, the cleaning, things to us that are quite boring. They just want to be able to help and contribute to the family in how we do. And this really gives them that sense of belonging, whether it's in the home or in the classroom, just in their community and in their society. Not only do they learn how to care for themselves, but for others, for their environment. And they do this through their freedom to make choices within the limits that we set. Like I said, Montessori is not about passive parenting at all. We have a few key rules, and within that they have the freedom of choice, movement, and the freedom of will as well. So for example, in the morning they can choose their own clothes as long as it's from some seasonally appropriate clothes. They can't be wearing shorts in the snow, but as long as it's within that boundary, they can make that choice for themselves. Or if they want to make their own snack, then it has to be from a healthy selection that you're comfortable with, that you've chosen for them, and they have to sit down as well to eat it. So that's just an idea of some of the limits we hold and how you can give choices within these. You may be thinking that all sounds great, but why would I follow a Montessori approach at home or consider a Montessori education for my children? Let me tell you. When you follow some of these methods, it just creates a warm and loving environment full of respect for everyone involved. It really creates this feeling of peace and just makes daily things enjoyable and makes it all run a lot smoother. Children raised in this way tend to show some of the same qualities, and one of those is independence and responsibility. Like I said, giving them that feeling of accomplishment. They tend to have a greater sense of curiosity and just a love for learning and for life. And they will deeply engage with their work, what they're doing. And that's because they're self-motivated, they're intrinsically motivated. It's not come from external pressures of being told what to do. They decide on the things that they want to do, and so it really creates a strong sense of self-discipline in the child, and that's a skill obviously they can carry forward into adulthood as well. They become really confident and secure in their role within the home, within society, and that allows them as an adult to easily identify their place in the world. And it's that self-assuredness that allows them to overcome all the challenges of daily life when they're adults, all the things the world has to throw at us, all the skills that we give them as children through using this approach. It's just sets them up for success as an adult. And Montessori really values the whole person, and whether that's an adult, a child, mind, body and soul is all valued. It's all equally as important as each other. And so going into adulthood, they know to give their bodies a rest if they need a rest, or to do things that make them feel good, make their minds healthy and happy. And it's just these life skills that they develop and they learn that I just adore. And it's so flexible. It doesn't have to look like a Montessori school setting. You can pick and choose little bits from the method that really resonate with you. So it may be cooking with your children, that's something you really enjoy passing on to them, and through researching into Montessori a little bit, maybe other Montessori families, even things like what tools they're using at what age for their children, so you kind of get a gist of how to make that more easy in the kitchen when you're with them. It may be the time outdoors in nature that you feel really, really drawn to. And like for me, it sparked so many different roads of, I have a list of books I want to read as long as my arm, because there's just so much out there. And I think it all flows together really well. Like it links in lovely with other approaches that sparked my interest and other philosophies, but it really is it's so backed up by the research now. And why would you not, when it shows that this is such a successful way of raising human beings. And it's so much as well, I didn't mention, but so much about the connection between each other and with the child. If you treat your child with respect and with kindness, you're going to have a better relationship, and those struggles that I was on about are going to be easier because you've got that relationship. They know that you're there to support them and to guide them, and they trust you a lot more. I just love it. I really could listen to Montessori podcasts all day long, whether it's the broader, more philosophical side of it, or whether it's the nitty gritty of presenting an activity. There's so many incredible accounts. Maybe I'll link some below actually that you can go and check out. Child of the Redwoods is amazing. You may have heard me speak about them before. They actually run courses for home educators all about the Montessori curriculum, because when I first discovered Montessori and had such this strong pull to it, I was like, maybe I need to be Montessori trained and work in a Montessori classroom. But I've now realised I don't need to know everything that a Montessori guide knows. I just need to know enough to be able to apply it in the home. And so it's about, like I said, picking out the bits that resonate with you and applying them to your home and to your methods of raising your children. It's not about all the knowledge you know up here, it's about how you apply it to your life. So that's really important to me. Is 1 week you might listen to a podcast that highlights one specific area and just try and focus on that. Maybe it's dealing with tantrums or sharing or meal times, and just see if you can make a few little tiny adjustments. And it's about as well taking it back to being really simple. So many of these approaches are just simple. They just make sense and it's not overcomplicated. I know when I first discovered Montessori, it felt a little bit overwhelming because there's so many different ways of doing it, and it was just a bit like, so much information. I first found out about Montessori through Instagram, I guess, when Harlow was a baby, and I was really drawn to the beautiful playrooms, the beautiful materials, that aesthetic really drew me in. And as I learned more about the philosophy behind it and how, you know, backed up it is, how solid it is, I just fell in love. And everyone within the Montessori community is just so kind, so loving, so nurturing. Like I said, you know, a big part of it is the environment, but also a big part of it is the adult as well, the prepared adult. And so that means taking time to work on your own self-development and to put your self-care first, because if you're coming from a place of calm, everything else is just easier. So I think I'm definitely going to do another video about finding your calm as a parent, because it's a skill that we practice every single day, and a few tips and tricks that I've gained along the way I would love to share with you. So that may be the next one coming. I really hope you've enjoyed listening to a little bit more about what Montessori is, and if you have any questions, please drop them below, please reach out. I'm not an expert, let me just say, like I said, I'm not Montessori trained. This is just the knowledge that I've been learning through my parenting journey, and I hope to learn even more as we head into our home education. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.